Hey, done, babe.
Getting the weeds out.
Getting the weeds out. They can take over fast, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
No.
It's not going to take hours.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Because when
not.
you're a perfectionist, this is just not a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, if you
I
get,
wasn't a perfectionist.
I go in there and I just disturb everything. But welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach, and we're kind of taking y'all along today. It may turn into a garden walk. We don't know. We don't know what the day holds in store for us. But what we do know is we're in the garden right now, and we need a weed, and y'all get to come along with us.
There you go.
So we just got done with this bed. This is Jen's birdhouse gourd, which is taken off. It is attached to the trellis and starting to grow up. A sunflower, which we have in every corner of every raised bed that we have. And then her bush beans, which did not germinate fantastic. And we had a lot of rain, and you can tell where they washed down together and like little bunches. But that's okay. Good thing about bush beans is they're a little bit quicker to turn around. So she, I think, is going to plant some more down the middle here and try to get a little bit better germination out of the bed. But one bed down. All right, what you working on now? What you got in this bed?
Tomatoes and marigolds.
Tomatoes and marigolds, which are doing good. And y'all might be looking at this little bitty steak and like, that ain't gonna do nothing. But y'all gotta wait to see the redneck ingenuity, or no.
The
redneck what?
ingenuity.
Thank you. I'm gonna be putting another steak on there for her and duct taping it to give her a little bit more height. But right now we only need the one. She also has a cucumber in here that's doing good. It should be getting close to trellising. But the tomatoes are looking great. We got all kinds of balloons going on. So these two are cherries. What are these two? Do you know? Dad Sunset.
That's persimmon.
That's persimmon.
That one is mortgage lifter, Granny Cantrell.
Granny Cantrell. And then a bunch of marigolds to keep the pests away. And then another sunflower. Hey, no one said it's dog loving break time. Did you already get the peppers done?
My side.
Your side. I can tell you left that side for me. Jen's peppers are looking great. These are a mix of roulette, heatless habaneros, habanadas, Craig's jalapeno, giant jalapenos, banana peppers, bell peppers, gypsy peppers, and one spicy habanero. So unlike my big garden, which we'll go check that out here in a minute, you haven't really had many issues with pests over here, have you?
No.
One thing you'll notice, the closer you are to your house, or mainly wherever you actively are on a general basis, you normally have less pests. Not so much the small bugs that like to nibble, like aphids, they'll go wherever you want, but squirrels, birds, moles, voles, mice, all that stuff, you're gonna have a lot less pest issues just because you're active in that area and they don't like being around that. All right, ground cherry bed done. Got another sunflower over here. And the ground cherries are getting really, really big, and we're already starting to get some little bitty blooms, if you can see it. Our little ground cherries that are starting to form. We've also gotten the calendula bed done, which is exploding with calendula. We keep cutting it and saving the heads for our calendula salve, and it just keeps growing and growing. Now on to the herb bed, which some stinking ducks like to try to get into, so that's why the dill's knocked over, but man, I think this one's the worst one, babe.
Yeah, it's bad.
Phew. Whew. Holy cow. It got hot up in there. So, not recommended to do that during the heat of the day. Any kind of weeding. But we got the kitchen garden completely weeded out. Jen's done some stuff with the kids, so she'll be back in a second. But since it is so warm, And we've got baseball practice and all that good stuff this evening, so we can't catch it in golden hour when things are cooling off. I want to go show you all what was going on in my side of the garden. So first up on the docket, because we haven't talked about it in a while, are our potatoes. They are looking amazing. We've recently healed them up, which, give me 1 second, I want to show you how to do that. But they are doing fantastic. Germination was great on everything, and spacing looks to be really good. Honestly, we could do a whole nother weed, or a whole nother hilling if we wanted, but we're starting to run out of dirt because we've done it a few times. So let me explain to you how we do that. So first off, before we show you how to hill, what even is hilling potatoes? Well, it's pretty obvious from the look of it. It's literally bringing dirt up to the sides and raising that higher. The main purpose of that is potatoes do not want the light. You do not want your potatoes while they're growing to get the light because they will go bad, shrivel up, die. And so all that good, awesome harvest that you're gonna have is gonna be whittled down to a fewer amount. Also, when you hill, you're gonna get a bigger yield. So you're gonna get more potatoes out of your plants because they have more room to grow potatoes. So having that loose soil sitting there, they're gonna produce more because they're not gonna fight that ground too hard down. And honestly, they can't, because you only get so many inches of topsoil, then you get into like harder clay. So hilling them up, mainly for the light, also allows you to grow many more potatoes. So all I use is 2 items to do the hilling, and this is how you. All right, so I use the Hoss single wheel hoe. It's got the cultivators on the bottom, and I just come through and see how I'm breaking that dirt up. You need to do this anyways to get the weeds out, but you break this up, and once you've gotten all your ground real loose, you come back in with the rake. All right, now once you have your rake, you literally just bring them up just like this, and you heel your sides. And so you're gonna do that on both sides of your heels. And then voila, you have hilled your potatoes. So again, like I said, you wanna do it on both sides of them. So I go through and I break up every single row full of dirt, get it nice and loose, and then I use half for this side and half for this side. And then you just keep doing it. It seems like a lot of work, but I promise you, I think about 30 minutes and I did all of this. And it's a huge plot of potatoes. So don't stress out too much about it. Just don't do it in the heat of day, and make sure you got plenty of water. All right, there's your little quick potato lesson of the day. So over here, in all of these 100-foot rows, we've got everything planted. So in this row with the weed tarp down, this is the first one, is all of our squash and zucchini. So we have lemon squash, straight neck squash, and then of course just your normal zucchini for Jen's famous zucchini bread. And this row, where it doesn't look like anything is direct sowed bush beans. So we're waiting for them to pop up, but we got 2 huge rows of bush beans. And then I put up these 2 cattle panel arches. Y'all, this is so easy and simple to do. Look, you just have your cattle panel, you throw a couple hooks on there, and 1 T-post, and it ain't going nowhere. That's all you need to do. You don't need 4 T-posts, you don't need zip ties. You can do it very, very simple and easy. Don't overthink it. You gotta remember, in gardening, things are more simple than most people make them out to be. So remember, nice little easy arch trellis. You can use anything you want. If I had pallets, I would use my pallet trellises that I created before. But anything for things to go up. So this has a bunch of pole beans on it. And then this one will be for cucumbers. So I've got a bunch of cucumbers that we started, and they are already attaching to the different spots. In this row, so you've gotten to see squash, beans, and now peppers. So all of these are our peppers. We have a little bit of everything in here, from habanadas to gypsies to jalapenos, habaneros, banana peppers. I mean, absolutely everything. And y'all, so far this year, this has been our best pepper year we've ever had. When it came from starting, when it came from transplanting, when it came from us having this drought that we got going on. And we've got all kinds of growth going on, and it's probably the biggest pepper plants we've ever had at this time of year in mid-May. All right, stick with me real quick. So we got those 3 beds, you just saw them. Right here's the tomatoes that you already knew. That's what we did the previous videos about the voles and moles that we had. And now on the fence line, which I can't remember if I showed you this or not, but it's kind of a garden tour, so you get to see it again, is where we planted our elderberries. So this is a shadier, wet spot because the creek's just right across. But we got all of our elderberries here, put about 5 foot apart from one another. And then the rest down this line is marigolds, cosmo flowers, zinnias, all the beautiful stuff to bring all those amazing pollinators right to our garden. Aren't these things beautiful? So pretty. But not as pretty as them beautiful zinnias. You know, fresh ground, I'm just tickled to death with how well these tomatoes are doing now that we're getting past the mold situation. But they're growing so fast, they're already up to the cattle panels, which means that it'll be about time to actually get them tied to the cattle panel and really get some true blown growth going on. So, at least for my tomatoes that we have over here in this bed, I'm gonna treat them a little different. We're usually heavy pruners. Which will still prune the bottom just to kind of keep that humidity level down and the airflow going. But we're not gonna prune as much on the top. We're gonna let some suckers roll and really get full and bushy and see how we do this year on tomatoes. Again, remember the storyline of our garden is back to the basics this year, and simplicity and more yields and more quantity over having the pruning and the caring so much, because gardening is simple and we need to make it like it should be. And then of course over here you all got to see the pumpkins and squash patch being planted. They're doing fine. Again, heat of the day, and so they're looking a little droopy. If your squash does this, really do not stress. Some plants just do that. They're just going to do that. They're going to look droopy during the day, and as soon as the shade hits and you get into the evening hours, they're going to do better. We're in Kentucky. We are not supposed to be 90+ degrees right now, but we are. And so they're going through it, they're figuring it out, and they'll get used to it. So don't worry about that. There's nothing that you really need to do. Just make sure you're watering regularly and you'll be good. Which that actually leads me into the #1 question we have been asked about that garden since we did it in. How in the world are we gonna water this garden? What are our watering plans? What's that plan? What are you doing to get those plants watered? Yeah, we're hand watering. No big deal, right? I don't know, we have this like mindset, it's like you can't be hand watering because it's a little bit further from your house. So I got 2 water hoses, 200 foot. That reaches all the way over there. And then it's like time, right? The time it takes to water them. Jen and I did it this morning. I think it took maybe 30 minutes, and it was a beautiful time because that's where we find God. That's where we love to be. That's when the sun is just peeking over the mountain and it's beautiful and it's amazing. So we hand water. Now is that long term? No. So yeah, we'll probably get drip tape at some point, not this year. However, like we've mentioned, that's also probably not gonna be our permanent spot. So I'm not gonna bury and lay a bunch of drip tape on something that we might just have to be pulling up and changing the whole game plan on next year. This is a whole test and learn season. So yeah, we're taking a little extra time and hand watering. And I think the biggest thing that I pledge to you all is, because you don't have some of these more extreme levels of doing things means that you can't do it, right? You can still do it and you still should do it. So I told her, I said, it's like we're actual farmers and like we're praying for rain. Because no, we don't get out there and water it as much as we normally would something else, because it does take a little bit more time. But you've got to realize that your plants can survive a few days without rain. Now, when you're at the very beginning stages and the transplanting, you want to be watering hopefully every morning, every other morning, and just give them that consistency and normal environment so they'll transplant well. However, they don't have to be watered every day. So pray for rain if you're in a drought. And just know that you can hand water these plants if you absolutely need to. And do not shy away from growing something just because you don't have drip tape or you don't have a watering source, water lines ran out there. Oh, that's fine. You can work around it. Just buy 1 extra water hose and get it out there. That also goes with like doing potatoes. There are tractor attachments. I have a tractor that can do that healing and stuff for you. However, we had to buy the necessity attachments and those things ain't cheap. So get you a little hoe and rake and get those things healed up. We got to remember that we can do a little bit more physical labor to get what we want, and it doesn't all have to be super simplistic. That can be the goal, but it doesn't have to be on your first year, your first time trying something. You can do it the hard way a couple seasons. All right, it's still hotter than Hades out here. But we wanted to show you all a new bloom that's absolutely beautiful and a little bit of a harvest and have a little combo.
Yeah. So when we moved here, we spotted this rose bush, and it's actually where we had to put the hot tub up on the porch, so we had to be really careful with it because I didn't want to ruin the roses, but they're finally blooming and they're so pretty. So I have no idea what kind or type or anything. I don't know anything about roses, to be honest with you. I know that we had a rose bush in North Carolina and it was beautiful, and this one looks a whole lot like it, so it brings a lot of joy being right here by the front porch. So we also cleaned out this area. It's where all of our leftover plants were, and it was just gross looking. So we've got the green stalks out, which this one has 3 marigolds and 1 sad zinnia that may or may not do anything. They were all left over and they had to go somewhere. So
we're trying.
We need to plant the rest of it, but it's kind of puny, but it's still pretty. You can't tell from the road how dead they look. And then we have this one, which we found strawberries in, finally. So that's kind of cool. We couldn't really decide a spot that we wanted to do out there in the field, so we just put them in the green stock. And a lot of people love growing strawberries in the green stock, so we'll see how it goes. I do not want to go in here. It's hot.
It is hot. But that's why we're harvesting the rest of the stuff, because it's going to bolt.
Shoo, this greenhouse is no longer a fun place to be. It's miserable. So, he's getting our final cauliflower, which is purple.
The coolest cauliflower ever.
How cool is that? So it's Homestead. Do you remember what the variety was?
Graffiti.
Graffiti. Look how pretty. Have you ever grown a purple cauliflower? If not, you should.
Yeah, because it is beautiful.
I'm excited for the kids to see it.
I'm excited to see if it just tastes just like every other cauliflower. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
But it's still a mind mess up.
So we have a bunch. We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
5?
4 or 5.
Something like that.
And then 2 regulars, but we've been harvesting a lot from in here.
Yeah.
I know it looks bad, but that's because we've harvested most of it. But we've been eating broccoli and cauliflower like crazy. There's more collard greens to eat, which we'll get to. Yeah, it's just been really successful. Despite how it looks, everything's just hot, but it's time to get it out.
It's real hot.
So there's our harvest. We had to get out of the greenhouse. We got 4 purple, which is the green.
No, 5 purple.
5.
There's a little one hot bagger.
5 graffiti cauliflowers, 1 normal, which we've already eaten, probably 3 or 4 other cauliflowers, and then 2 heads of cabbage. So neither one of us can remember what that cabbage is called, but it's like a personal size. It doesn't get huge.
Yeah.
But it still is pretty big. I'm excited about those. And we're going to eat the leaves too. And then that cabbage will last a really long time. So we'll probably put it up until we need it. And I think I'm going to do some pickling on the cauliflower and then roast some of it.
Super excited about that. Okay, so this was a hot and steamy garden tour, but only in temperature. Maybe her too.
Morning day.
No, kidding aside, we're in the patience level, right? So it's the gardens are finally planted. Now it's just like, do something.
Yeah.
Like grow, get big. Give me the tomatoes that I want. Give me the potatoes. All that
Wow, we're wrapping up the cold season.
Exactly, and
which
so
is great.
it is. And so for us, it's really nice because we are getting a harvest. So hopefully you did some co-crops and you're starting to still get your last remaining harvest out of those while you're waiting on your summer crops. I think one of the biggest questions we get is, when did we plant this stuff? When did we plant these co-crops to be able to get these heads? And I think it's maybe the most difficult thing that gardeners figure out. Like, what day do I plant co-crops?
It's not a one-for-all answer. It totally depends on you and your area. Because we started these at the same time last year at our old place, and they bolted, and nothing grew. But we also didn't have the room. We had to take them out for other crops. But it is totally different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us specifically, what we did plant them in the raised bed in our high tunnel, and we planted them on March 1st. Mm-hmm. That's after they were transplanted on March 1st. So they were actually started in February. Mm-hmm. And so that got us to this head. And the one thing about cauliflower and broccoli and all that good stuff, once you actually start seeing the head form, I mean, you're talking a couple weeks and you're ready to harvest. It takes a lot of time to build that plant up to get ready to start building the head. So I would say for any of your co-crops, just test and learn every year. You might get a small head, you might get a bigger head. Just keep testing until you really find that time frame that works for your zone and your area code. So we really hope that you enjoyed this garden tour. Like I said, we're in patience mode. Be patient, maintain. Don't give up though. Keep an eye out. If you start seeing sunburn, you start seeing wilt, you start seeing leaf curl, do not pull that plant out. Like you got to give these plants a time to have some cuts and bruises and recover. Like that's the biggest thing that you need to remember. They will probably recover more times than not. So be patient. Don't overlook them too much. Don't get a magnifying glass out and figure out every little thing that's going wrong with your plant. They'll be fine, and just wait for that harvest. Yeah. All right, y'all, if you haven't subscribed down below, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to down below. Having a heat stroke.
Yeah, we love y'all.
Until the next one.
Bye.
Bye.